People want to see your product. People also love seeing the person behind the product. And I think people forget that they have a business brand, but they also have a personal brand. And you have to manage both of them.
You're listening to Thrive by Design, business, marketing, and lifestyle strategies for your jewelry brand to flourish and thrive. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast, episode 165. Today, you are in for a huge treat because we're talking about the secrets of a successful influencer strategy. And I am thrilled to be interviewing someone who I recently met through our PR maven over here, Sabina Hitchin, over here at Flourish and Thrive. Her name is Brittany Hennessy, and she is the head of influencer strategy at Hearst Magazine, and she just launched a book called Influencer, Building Your Brand in the Age of Social Media. And I'm so excited to have her on the show. Brittany and I had a really fun conversation, not only about her book, but how to really connect with the right kinds of influencers for your brand, how to actually reach out to them, which is something different than you might not expect. You might have expected her to say something else. I was really surprised at her answer. And the best ways to do research, we're recapping some tools that you can use to actually find out demographics of the types of influencers that you're looking for, and so much more. And Brittany's going to give you the inside scoop on what her book is all about and share a lot more about how you can leverage influencer strategy in your business and even potentially become an influencer, because there's so many opportunities for collaboration out there these days. And we want to help you succeed and continue to flourish and thrive with your jewelry brand, thinking outside of the box of the different ways that you can create and generate revenue in your business by building this brand. I am so excited. This interview is super fun. We had a blast recording it. And I'm going to have some very special news to announce really soon. And if you haven't heard, we have a great influencer panel at our Flourish and Thrive live conference that's coming up on September 26th. And so you definitely don't want to miss it, because influencer strategy is becoming, more important, so much more important in today's day and age of doing business, basically. And with that, we get so many questions about influencers. So I thought, why not bring some influencers in? So we have a great influencer panel curated. We're going to be talking about a lot of different topics, from actually what it's like to be an influencer. We're going to have influencers there. And then also behind the scenes of people who are either partnering with influencers and or the people who actually book influencers themselves. So you're definitely not going to want to miss this. The panel's amazing. If you haven't picked up your ticket, if we still have any left by the time this episode airs, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/FTA Live 2018 and grab your ticket right there. We definitely want to hook you up, and you definitely want to be in that room. Last year and all the previous years before, it's been amazing. And people had so many great business opportunities right there. So I'm really looking forward to meeting you all in New York. And with that in mind, I'd love to take a word from our sponsor. Our sponsor for today's episode is ninadesigns.com. If you are looking for green certified business and you like to work with sustainable vendors, Nina is the place to go. They have beautiful charms, leathers, silks, findings, and amazing wholesale jewelry supplies. So when you head on over to Nina Designs, you're going to see some beautiful product and things that you can add to your collection. So if you're really trying to liven up your designs or come up with something unique that others aren't doing, head on over to ninadesigns.com. Use the discount code FLOURISH2018, that's Flourish in all caps, 2018, to get $15 off your $50 or more order. Nina just redid her website and has a beautiful new website shopping experience for you to enjoy. So head on over to ninadesigns.com. And if you'd like to meet Nina in person, come join us for Flourish and Thrive live this year on September 26th and 27th. She has a wealth of business knowledge and really loves supporting small business. All right. Thank you so much for that. Our sponsor, Nina Designs, is amazing. I'm really looking forward to seeing Nina at our live event too. So before I dive into the episode, I want to do a formal introduction of Brittany, because she has a pretty awesome career. Brittany Hennessy is the author of Influencer, Building Your Brand in the Age of Social Media, the first ever senior director of influencer strategy and talent partnerships for Hearst Magazine, digital media, and the co-founder of Carbon. In 2007, after graduating from Rutgers University with a degree in journalism, Brittany created Chichi212.com, which was nominated by Paper Magazine for Best Nightlife Blog and became an influencer for Bacardi, Pop Chips, Svedka, and The Gap. And when she was flown to Germany as North American ambassador for Nivea just to hang out with Rihanna on a cruise ship and tweet about it, she knew it was time to make the switch from journalism to social media. You can learn more about her book and more about Brittany at influencerthebook.com. All right, let's dive in. You guys are going to love this episode. Well, I am just thrilled because I have a wonderful guest here on the show today who just wrote a book that just came out called Influencer. I want to welcome Brittany Hennessy. Brittany is, and I'm going to talk, you probably heard of this all in the intro. She is the head of influencer marketing at Hearst Magazine and so much more. We're going to dive right into all of this right away. Brittany, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be on.
I am so excited to have you here. I was introduced to you by my good friend, Sabina Hitchin, and she's like, you have to meet Brittany. She's launching this book. She's amazing because we were talking about working with influencers because we get questions all the time from the designers in our community about like, what are the best practices for influencer marketing? Like, should I pay an influencer to work with them? Or what are other ways to work with influencers? How do I know if this influencer is legit? And so I was so excited to have this introduction because this is what you do day in and day out, every single day. And you do it so much that you even wrote a book about it. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited to talk about this. So before we dive in, because I know that there is so much to talk about, I would love for you to tell me a little bit more, or tell us all here, a little bit more about yourself and your journey and how you kind of dove into the influencer market.
Sure. So I majored in journalism at Rutgers University a long time ago before, I was in college and Facebook wasn't even a thing yet. So I am a trained journalist, but there really was no way for me to prepare for the job I have now because this industry did not exist. And so, I majored in journalism, really wanted to work in print. This was right around the time digital was becoming the hot new thing, and it was impossible to get a job in print, and I didn't have print experience, so I couldn't work in digital. And so I ended up working at a talent agency, and I really liked working there. I enjoyed casting talent and working with talent and helping them build their careers. But I created a blog to keep my writing skills sharp while I was doing something that had absolutely nothing to do with writing. And then one day I got a call saying, we've heard from a bunch of people that your blog is really good. It's exactly what we need. And I actually was the North American ambassador for Nivea's 100th anniversary. And they flew me to Germany and I got to hang out on a cruise ship for 3 days with Rihanna, which
that doesn't suck.
Yeah, it was amazing. And all I really had to do was tweet about the experience. And I could not believe it. I was like, oh, so social media ended up being a thing because I was already on all the platforms. I like storytelling. So definitely was on Facebook and Twitter and following people. But this turned into things that brands were spending money on. And so I was trying to figure out how to get a job in social media with no social media experience. And I realized that I have lots of friends who had businesses and really did not understand social media or how it worked. And so I set up a little consulting firm and was running the social media accounts for lots of people that I knew. And then I ended up working at Lucy Roberts, running their social media, which is a women's gym that got acquired by a New York sports club. And then a friend that I knew who used to do PR for an alcohol company while I was a blogger invited me to come join her at Horizon Media to run their influencer team. And it was the first team of its kind. I was the first person to have the job that I had. And I did a lot of, mommy bloggers and CPGs and entertainment and travel. And it was really fun. And I did everything top to bottom. And I really still enjoyed the casting perspective. And so I went looking for a job where I could focus on casting. And that's when I found the opportunity at Hearst, which I was introduced to by someone I met in Germany on the Nivea trip. And so,
cool.
she ended up being on my team. And that's how I got introduced to the hiring manager and how I got my job. And so just working here for a while, dealing with a lot of influencers who all had very specific questions. And so, the easiest way for me to share what I've learned with everyone, because I cannot have coffee with everybody, was to write this book. And it came out last week and it's had a great reception and people have said it's really helping them. And that's really all I set out to do. So I'm very excited.
This is so amazing. I'm just so excited about this. And I'm really excited for you and I'm really excited for our community because we're going to dive deep into some of this stuff. And I just think influencer strategy is so important these days to really grow your brand and get exposure. So my first question to you really is like, why do you think this evolution of influencer strategy has become so important in this day and age?
I think word of mouth has always been very important. And that's really all influencer marketing is. If you want to distill it down to its core, it's word of mouth marketing on the internet. And so instead of, you being very popular and telling 10 friends about a product that you found, you happen to have 10,000 or 100,000 or 1 million followers. And when you speak, that's how many people you're telling. So I think people tend to get bogged down with the fact that it's a new term and it's a trend. But in general, it's the same thing that we've been seeing. It's just in a different form. And people are spending so much time online. You really can shorten, the sales funnel from when someone sees or hears about your product to when they can purchase it, because there are so many integrated tools on social media that influencer marketing really has become a way to reach your target demo. And also because we're in an age where lots of people are, have ad blockers, they don't have advertisement, they don't let ads come through on their television. I mean, I pay a lot of money on Hulu every month to not get commercials. And so if you're trying to reach a demographic, this is one of the most surefire ways to make sure people can see what you're creating.
Absolutely. It's like the new form of advertising because people are endorsing products that they like. And it's not just, I don't know, you probably know this better than I do. Do a lot of influencers just pick up product just for the money? Or do you think that most of them are focused on what's aligned with their brand?
It depends on if you're talking about a good influencer or a bad influencer. I think, influencer marketing is no different than any other industry. Like if you look at movies, there are actors who will take any film as long as they're going to get a paycheck. And then there are actors who only do films where they really like the script and really connect with the character. That's the same thing in influencer marketing. There are influencers who their entire feed is full of ads because they will shill any product that will pay them. And then you have influencers who really value the fact that they're content creators, their audience relies on them, and they're very particular because their whole bread and butter that people listen to what they say, they have influence, and their audience trusts them. And if they know you're just endorsing something because you were paid and not because you would endorse it anyway, then they lose credibility. And that's not something that people are willing to do for $5,000, $10,000. I've seen influencers turn down $50,000 because something does not align with their brand. And that's what happens when you work with really good creators. That's
awesome. I think that we would all want to align with the right kinds of people, the kinds of influencers who would only endorse a product that they actually really loved. And so, it's just crazy to me that being an influencer is actually a career today. People make such good money. I look at the Blonde Salade and I'm just like, man, she has like so many followers and now she has a shoe line and like all these other things. There's probably a lot more that I don't know that she's actually developing of her own product. They're turning into like these massive brands. So from a brand perspective, partnering with the right brand can really help, an independent brand grow really quickly, even if it's just a micro influencer. So for independent brands who are just starting out, how would you advise them on connecting with influencers? Like, where should they start?
So I think the first thing that brands need to do, and actually there's two versions of my book. There's the paperback version and the audiobook version, which is for creators. And then there's a hardcover version that actually has a bonus chapter that was written for brands. And it has the 10 commandments of influencer marketing. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. And the first one is brands need to make sure their house is in order before they invite anyone over. And I think that happens to a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs. They start reaching out to influencers. They want to collaborate with people. And when you email an influencer, the first thing they're going to do is check your social channels because it's a partnership. And so if they're aligning themselves with you, you're also aligning yourselves with them. And plenty of people will not have beautiful feeds. They won't have updated content. Things will be, misspelled. And an influencer is not going to want to partner with you if when she tags you and her followers go to your site, it's not very good. And so I think, lots of people try to jump the gun and they just know that like they need to be on this hot new thing and they need to partner with these influencers and their websites aren't mobile friendly. I mean, these are social influencers. So most people who interact with their content are on their phone. So your website has to be mobile friendly. Your Instagram has to be on brand for them. If an influencer has 1 million followers, but she's very luxury and, aspirational, and your jewelry doesn't match that, she's not going to want to partner with you no matter how much she likes it, just because it doesn't fit with her brand. And so I think lots of brands have a problem where they tend to either over or underestimate their brand equity. Mm-hmm. And they will either shoot too low for influencers who, you could have someone a little more luxury, or they shoot too high because those are just the names they know. Right. They don't realize that their product is not on brand for those girls. So I think that's the very first thing brands need to do. And that usually takes the most time, but it's the most important, and it's how you'll have success when dealing with influencers.
I like that. Clean house first. Yeah, we're always talking with designers about like getting their brand assets in order and making their websites really reflect what the brand is all about. Not just a janky, you can get a really nice templated site if you have beautiful photography and you're really telling a brand story through that photography and what you're saying on the site. I think sometimes people just like slap up a website and then a couple of like random pictures that are taken in terrible light on their Insta and expect, and wonder why they're not getting sales. And so I'm so glad that you said that. Is there anything else that they should be thinking of before they get started?
So I think you should also look at, when you're looking for influencers, try to find, and there are plenty of free tools that will help you do this, try to find an influencer who's part of your target demo. Like, that's her audience. It was very difficult a few years ago to know that information because Instagram didn't release it. And so you really were reliant on third parties. But now influencers know who their audience is and they're creating content for them. And so if you love an influencer, but majority of her audience is under 24 and your average piece starts at $600, she's probably not the influencer for you, even if, her aesthetic matches yours, because her audience can't afford your product. And I think people tend to just look at the age of the influencer, not realizing that's not necessarily reflective of the age of her audience.
Right.
So lots of these really luxe, aspirational, perfectly edited feeds, lots of these girls will get these jobs, and brands will be luxury brands especially, are often very disappointed when they work with them because they didn't realize that her audience doesn't have any money.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if you are selling something at a fairly decent price point, you really want to look for influencers who are older, who have content that doesn't look very juvenile, who are a little more opinionated in their captions, just sorts of things that make you you can take a guess at what type of person follows this influencer, and does she match the type of customer I'm trying to reach? Because that's the second biggest mistake people make is, aligning with an influencer without really thinking or finding out who her audience is.
Such great advice. So you mentioned some like tools or apps or something like that, and it's easy to find. How can people find this information out about an influencer?
Sure. So I think Hyper Brands is the easiest one. They give you, if you connect your LinkedIn, you get, I think, like 50 free searches. So use them wisely. But that's one that they'll pull an influencer's demographic and they'll let you see age breakout, ethnicity, location. You can love an influencer, but if you don't ship internationally and most of her audience is not based in the US, she's probably not your girl. And so it'll break out that sort of information for you. And then you can use some data to inform your decision on top of her content and her reputation.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Great, great tip. All right. So we have a lot of designers in our community who've almost become like influencers on their own brand, which is really cool. They have tons of followers. They're creating like a great community of customers and consumers and just people who like what they're doing, and curating them not only on their Instagram, but also on their email list and growing their blogs, et cetera. So for those brands who've really grown their following, how can they actually leverage their influence to partner with other brands in different kinds of ways? And would this really be like a valid source of revenue for them? Or is it something that just kind of brings more brand validity or credibility?
So it really depends on the makeup of your social media profile. I always encourage people who have a trade, and that includes designers, chefs, dancers, people who are makeup artists, anyone who has a trade. Brands are dying to work with those types of people, especially brands that are really into storytelling. I work with clothing brands all the time at Hearst. Clothing, decor, and we're always looking for an influencer who has a talent, who can tell a story that's independent of the product we're selling. And so if we're selling a watch, we might use a chef or a florist who has to keep track of time for X number of reasons. If we're selling, a beautiful outfit, we might hire a jewelry designer or a painter to wear the clothing and then do her activity. And so we're always looking for those types of people, and you can make a lot of money because especially if you have a trade, your influence comes more from what you're doing offline and the reputation you have in your industry than it does from followers. And I think that's a big misconception people think you have to have 100,000 or 1 million followers to be an influencer. And I book influencers all the time who have under 5,000 followers.
Wow.
But in their communities, they are a big deal. And that happens a lot in like a women's health where a trainer might be very well known for the fact that she's trained celebrities or, she's a well-known athlete. But because she spends most of her time building her offline persona, she doesn't have a lot of followers. But you know her name. And so that's important because influence is not just the numbers. If you're a digital content creator and that's where your influence comes from, then you have to have the numbers because that's what's making you important. But if you're a designer and you have craft, you can do other work. You can partner with fashion brands and home decor brands and, makeup and all of these things. But that really comes down to, do you have photos of yourself on your feed? And you see this a lot with people who have trades is it's photo after photo of their products and no photos of them. Yeah. So I don't know who is the person behind the brand. You could be perfect for Harper's Bazaar or for Cosmo for some campaign we're doing, but I don't know what you look like. I don't know anything about you. I can't see your style. I can just see your jewelry, which is great for sales, but won't help you book a branded campaign, which everyone should be looking for multiple streams of revenue because it's 2018.
Exactly. That is such good advice. So remember to take great pictures. This is a good reminder. I'm doing like a styled photo shoot next week because I need more pictures for not only just for Instagram, but we use so many pictures in the stuff that we're doing for promoting Flourish and Thrive Academy. And I use a lot of pictures for my personal brand, tracymatthews.com. But at the same time, it's like, you might need to do multiple photo shoots in a year at a certain point because you really do need a lot of pictures of yourself. Or even just have a friend who's good at taking pictures, take a really good picture on a phone. But like different kinds of pictures besides just the random selfie.
Yeah, and you're not a model. No one's expecting you to have runway style photos. But people just want to see pictures of you. And, everyone I talk to who's a makeup artist or I have a client who's a chef, they're always surprised at how well their photos of themselves do. And I'm like, you shouldn't be surprised. People are following you. They're not following a meme account. They're not following, like a random brand that only posts photos of food. They're following a person. And so when they see that person, it's exciting for them because they're supporting you. So they want to know, what are you doing? Where are you going? Do you have a spouse? Do you have children? Do you have a dog? Are you on vacation? Like, people want to see your products, but people also love seeing the person behind the product. And I think people forget that they have a business brand, but they also have a personal brand. And you have to manage both of them.
That is such great advice. It's like finding that combination of your business brand and your personal brand and telling the story of what you're all about and putting yourself out in the forefront of your business, even if you're one of those shy people who wants to hide behind your computer or your workbench every single day.
Yeah, I always say, do you want to be shy or do you want to make money? Which you got to pick one.
Yeah. Do you want to be shy or do you want to make money? Because I feel like that's the soundbite of the hour. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we're not, unless you're like a computer programmer, you've got to be out in front. And even then, when you look at like Mark Zuckerberg and like the guy, like Elon Musk, like these are all people who in another life would have been behind the scenes people, but they're very out and in the front because that's what CEOs have to do. Like people buy into people and they're buying less into brands.
Yes. People buy from people. That's so important. Thanks for the reminder. We say that a lot. Robin is our like sales maven over here, my co-founder, and she has been saying that since the beginning. People don't buy just stuff. They're buying from you. And it's important. That story about the brand is like one of the most important things. And you are behind the brand, whether it's your brand is your name or it's something else, like you got to show up for it. And I think it's really important. Awesome. So Let's get into just like one tactical question, because I'm sure, we get this question all the time. What's the best way? Like if you want to partner with an influencer, you're a jewelry brand, let's say, and you want to partner with an influencer, what's the best way to get in touch with them? Like from a tactical perspective.
So from a tactical perspective, you have to figure out what you're going to be offering. These influencers want one of three things. They want more publicity, they want brand credibility, or they want money. If you don't have any of those, you're going to have a rough time. So you have to make sure you have one of those three things. And I think lots of influencers, at the end of the day, they are creators. Not everybody just wants to take pretty pictures. A lot of these women are building up their numbers so that they can start selling products. And that's why you see these influencers who have a capsule collection at Nordstrom or Target, or they have a makeup line at Ulta, because that was always the goal. And, even 5 years ago, they could have never imagined being able to launch a business because they're not one of the major players, but the internet has changed all of that. And so if you're looking to reach out to an influencer and you have a lot of money, great. Find someone who's on brand for you, pay them to do a sponsored collaboration, you pay the money, that's great. If you don't have that, but you have a very prestigious brand, and it's a brand that an influencer would like to be associated with, you can then offer them lots of exposure. Are you on a website? Do you sponsor like a great conference? And because they make their money by having a lot of followers. So if exposure from you will give them a lot of followers, then that's a win for them. Or they want to have some sort of creative control. And that, I think, is where a lot of designers who don't have the credibility or the funds yet can partner with influencers, which is making lines with them. Because, an influencer might love Zodiac, or she might be a mom who loves charm bracelets. Like, they are people who have wants and needs, and most of them wear jewelry. And so you can partner with an influencer, since you can create the product. She can help you design, her own line for your product. And then you might have to pay her up front. It might be based solely on commission, whatever you work out with the influencer. But then she's willing to push your product because she'll get something out of it. She owns a piece of what she's making. She has some sort of creative direction. And then hopefully people will find your brand through the influencer, and they'll keep coming back because they like the other things you're making. So those sorts of things, if you have that idea, you put together a nice pitch deck, and most influencers have their contact info on their Instagram. On mobile, you'll see the email button. If not, I wrote in my book that everyone should have it in the bio. So hopefully that'll start happening, or on their website, and you just reach out to them. And you can't, it's just like applying for a job. You can't mass write everybody. You have to pick a few influencers, tell them why you chose them, and tell them what you're offering and what you're looking to do, and then go from there. Because influencers get so many pitches every day, they can see through the BS. Just like a designer, you can see through the BS if somebody's just trying to get free product.
Yeah, exactly. That is such great advice. So you'd recommend emailing over DMing on Instagram?
Oh, they get so many DMs. I only have like 3,200 followers, and I tried to go through my DMs the other day. It took me an hour.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even have any followers. Yeah. These are influencers who, if they have 100,000 followers, they're getting dozens and dozens and dozens a day. You will get lost. They have a business email because that's where they're looking for their business opportunities. So use it.
Okay, amazing. That's great advice. So I have a quick question on something that you said. You said some will take commission or do partnerships. How have you seen that actually work? Like, is it that they're collaborating with a brand and designing like a product that's like influencer branded? Like, we have a designer here who works closely with a yoga influencer. She has a yoga brand. She works closely with a yoga influencer, B. Bosnack, and they've created a mala necklace together, let's say. And I know that there's like some sort of arrangement. I don't want to reveal it here because it's like a confidential information, but they have an arrangement where for every piece sold, it was a collaboration on the design. For every piece sold, and when B's promoting it, she gets a commission off the mala. So is that a common thing that people do?
Yeah, I think it's pretty common. I think it also depends on how much creative control you're going to let the influencer have. In general, they want full partnership. So the more they get to contribute, the less they're going to charge you, because you're actually tapping them for a skill and not just as a marketing resource. And then they can tell the difference no matter how people try to spin it. And so doing your research on an influencer and even suggesting a piece she might want to make is great. You have lots of influencers. Influencers are very open about their issues and their problems, and their followers know their entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an influencer who, it's a sad story, but maybe she recently had a miscarriage and she had a rainbow baby, she might want to make some sort of jewelry line for moms who have rainbow babies. And she probably picked up a lot of followers when she was talking about that story, because people want to connect with people who have similar experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And now she has this beautiful line that has a story behind it. It's sentimental. And then she can put it out to her audience and say, I was inspired by my experience to create this piece, and I want to be able to share it with you. Those sorts of things are what moves product with an influencer collaboration, because it means something to her. So she's not just pushing it so she can get the commission. She's trying to share something with people. And a lot of influencers work with charities. So if you have something where, a percentage of all of the sales go to this charity, they'd be willing to work with you, because, a lot of influencers are really past the good ones are really past the, I just need to make money. So many of them have more money than they know what to do with. So now they're giving back. They want to make tangible things and put them into the world. We're going into this second phase of influence. So it's changing a little bit. So this is really where, if you have product to offer and you can offer an influencer something that doesn't live online, this is the best time to get in touch with them.
That's amazing. That is great advice. I was just talking with a designer last week who has a jewelry brand. And it's a really unique spin on jewelry that's like raising money for causes. And she's having a hard time like getting the message out there and partnering with all of this. So like influencers could be like a great way for her to kind of get the message out about what she's doing for these different, for lack of a better word, diseases and cancers and stuff like that. So it's
absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So now I want to hear more about your book. Tell us a little bit more about Influencer and how people can find it.
Sure. So the full title is Influencer: Building Your Personal Brand in the Age of Social Media. And it really is about that. There's a strong focus on managing and monetizing your influence, which is brand partnerships. But I planned, and I've heard from a lot of people, that the book helps entrepreneurs a lot, because it really spends a lot of time and attention on packaging your brand. What are you putting out into the world? How are people going to view you? How do you attract the right people? And then there are entire sections on like how to approach people. Like, how do you write a media outlet? How do you write a brand? How do you write an influencer? Like, how do you write people that you want to work with? And then there's lots of chapters about everyone's favorite topic, money and negotiations, figuring out how much things are worth. It's great for influencers because they can see how much they should be charging. And it's great for designers because you can figure out how much you should be offering. And so you don't offend anybody by lowballing them. You're not overpaying. And it has a lot of information for influencers, how to figure out their engagement and what their influence really is. And if you read it from the business standpoint, you'll understand what they're trying to do, and it'll help you connect with them. And so it's available in paperback and audiobook, wherever books are sold. I read the audiobook. I think it's pretty funny. And the hardcover version is at Hudson News. And as I said earlier, that's the version that has the 10 commandments for brands in it.
All right. So awesome. I'm buying the audiobook for myself so I can listen to it in addition to all these other books. And we're going to be having a contest here over at Flourish and Thrive to win this book. So keep your eyes and ears out. More will be revealed. Brittany, thank you so much for being here today. This was amazing. And I so appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It was so much fun. And I hope I provided some valuable insight for your community.
You absolutely did. Well, thank you so much for listening to the show today. How awesome was that interview with Brittany? I had a blast interviewing her, and I'm sure you had a blast listening to the episode. Make sure that you go pick up her book wherever books are sold, and you can check her out over at influencerthebook.com. I know I will be giving away a bunch of copies over here at Flourish and Thrive, so I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm super excited for our live event, which we're going to have a great influencer panel at the live event, which is going to be a blast. So I hope you're joining. And you'll also get to meet our sponsor for today's episode, Nina Designs, at our live event as well. Head on over to Nina Designs and get your wholesale jewelry supplies right now. All right, thanks so much for listening today. If you've enjoyed this episode and you enjoy what you're hearing out here at Thrive by Design, I would love for you to rate and review our podcast. And I'd also love you to do me a favor and share it with your other friends who are in the jewelry, fashion, product space, accessory space, because all this business advice is relatable to all of them. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to helping your business flourish and thrive.